I've got some good news and I've got some really bad news. The good news is, welcome back to another video. I have more stuff to talk about. The bad news is everything in this video is bad. Probably. Most likely you'll interpret some of this as bad stuff. Pierre Poilievre is kind of giving people a bit of an ultimatum in Alberta, which is interesting because he hasn't yet done his by-election. Now, Pierre Poilievre's support is extremely popular. I mean, the popular vote in Canada, he, lost by only 400,000 votes out of like 15 or 18 or almost 20 million votes. Like, there was a lot of votes in Canada, and Pierre wasn't off that much by the popular vote. But there's something special about Alberta right now, more than ever. And I mean, there's always something special about Alberta, but right now Alberta's facing a separatist referendum, get the hell out of our province type of movement. And they're not happy with Ottawa. And most politicians in Alberta understand this. Even the NDP in Alberta is saying, hey, if Albertans want a referendum, put it on the ballot. Radical left-wing liberals are saying, if this is what the people want, let them vote. Now, Pierre's coming from Ottawa to Alberta. Yeah, he was born in Calgary. I'll give him that, or area, whatever it was. But what he's bringing is the fact that he doesn't want Alberta to separate. He's saying no to Alberta separating, and that is pissing off a lot of people. So that's bad news. Also, the Globe and Mail, I can't even make this up. The Globe and Mail is literally saying we should cut ties with America and move towards China. Like, I'm just going to give you a sneak peek at the title because this says, let's free ourselves from the U.S. and forge closer ties with China. We're going to read that article later. Like I said, good news is we have another video. Bad news is everything. Welcome back to the channel. I hope. Please don't take it out on me. I'm just a messenger. I'm just making a video about the news. Like and subscribe, please. Please. I mean, we need it, man. This is bad news. What's going on in Canada? And since we're talking about the news and just how bad it is and just it's all over the place, it's a perfect segue into today's sponsor. We find this increasingly more and more common. The left is saying something and the right is saying something else. So where lies the truth? Well, luckily, I've actually partnered with Ground News to be able to deliver you the truth. Let's use this story in particular, how Mark Carney is going to be slashing a bunch of different public sector jobs in order to save 7.5% starting in the fiscal year of 2026. Now, Ground News offers this biased distribution bar where you can see how many left-leaning sources there are covering this topic and how many right-leaning sources there are covering the exact same topic. And when you filter by the left, you can see that everyone's saying, oh my goodness, Mark Carney is going to be doing this incredible thing where he's going to be cutting a whole bunch of money. And then when you go to the right, they're saying, how is Mark Carney going to be able to possibly do this? It's always a mix of opinions from the left and opinions from the right, and the actual truth lies somewhere in the middle. Now, my favorite thing about Ground News is the blind spot feed. It shows you stories that you on the left and the right that you would have otherwise have missed. And I'll be honest, a lot of my videos I actually get from the blind spot because, again, there's just so much left-leaning and right-leaning media out there that it's hard to get the truth. So if you click the link down below in the description, use the QR code on screen, or click the pinned comment down below, you can get 40% off the Vantage plan today, which is the exact same plan that I use. Give yourself the ability to search for the truth, the real truth. Thank you, Ground News, for sponsoring today's video. So even though the news is bad, at least with Ground News, you have the option to choose between the right, the left, and the center. Please check them out. Without further ado, let's get right into this video. So I actually use ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT to say this: should a federal MP properly represent the people of his or her riding? And ChatGPT said, yes, a federal member of parliament should properly represent the people of their riding. That is one of their core responsibilities in Canada's democratic system. Why this matters: democratic accountability. MPs are elected by constituents and are accountable to them first. Hard to disagree. Voice in government. MPs bring local concerns to Ottawa, shaping national policies through the lens of their community. Constituency work. MPs help residents with federal services, immigration, pensions, and taxes. Balancing roles. While they represent a party, their duty to constituents should take priority when the two conflict. So, choosing your local riding over party. That's what this is recommending. ChatGPT, I mean, that has access to all of the world's data in the snap of a finger. So, summary table. Legislator, your votes on federal policies. Constituency representative brings local concerns to Parliament. Ombudsman helps constituents navigate federal systems. Some party members support party platform, but not at the expense of constituents. Support party platform, but not at the expense of the people within your riding. In some practice, MPs lean more towards party loyalty, especially in tightly controlled party systems. But constitutionally and ethically, representation of constituents is central. So this is where we are right now. Now, why am I talking about this? You're wondering, what did Pierre say that's making Sunshine start off his video like that? Well, I'm going to show you. And this is where it becomes very fragile and tricky. Now, again, precursor, I voted for Pierre. I like the Conservatives. I like Pierre. I do. I think that he is a good candidate. But there's a lot of messaging that he's been lacking on, such as one of Canada's top priorities is immigration. Like you make a call to any company for service and you know what I'm saying? You know where I'm going with there? And you're getting like a Democrat. Like, do you know where I'm going? Like we're all thinking it. It's weird to say it because then you get labeled as a racist and blah, blah, blah. But we all know you go anywhere and it's like, whoa, this looks weirder by the day. Like it shouldn't be a bad way, but it's getting to the point where it's a little too much, right? So here's what Pierre said when a reporter asked him a question. This was clipped by the Western Standard. Poilievre agrees that Albertans' frustrations are legitimate, but still rejects the idea of Western independence. I disagree with separation. I'm a Canadian patriot. We have to put a final end to this notion in Ottawa that Ottawa tells Alberta to pay up and shut up. Which, before I click the video, I don't know how an opposition party with everything that's gone on, like the Bloc isn't really happy with Pierre and the Conservatives. The NDP doesn't give a crap about Pierre and the Conservatives. The Green Party either. So I'm kind of wondering how, as Conservative Party, they're going to stick it to Ottawa for the pay up and shut up, like other than question period. Like every single motion is going to get denied. Every single bill is going to get denied. So it feels a little helpless in that sense. But let's hear what currently private citizen Pierre Poilievre has to say leading into this by-election to hopefully become an MP again.
During the campaign, I visited Western Canada and was honestly shocked with the level of frustration and alienation in Western Canada. You're currently running for Western Canadian seats. What do you have to say to people in the West who are so frustrated that they think that even if you were to become Prime Minister, given that you wouldn't be Prime Minister forever, it's better to just separate than to keep in Confederation because they just think Canada is so broken?
Well, I disagree with separation. I'm a Canadian patriot. I was born and raised in Calgary, Alberta, and I understand the frustration. I still think that there's no other country in the world where someone of my modest origins would be able to make it to this place, and that's the story that millions of people have lived and relived from across the country. So we are united by that Canadian promise. But as I said,
I'll give it to him that at least he said that I understand the frustration. But the way he says it and how it's a one and done mention tells me that that's just like a checkbox. Like I'm just going to tell them that I understand, but I'm not going to elaborate because he elaborates on everything else. And when it comes time to make this decision, people are having, and we're going to watch the rest of the video, don't worry, but people are going to have to make a decision on voting for Pierre almost by his own admission. Okay, this isn't my opinion. This is my interpretation, as well as almost everybody else unanimously. even Pierre's own words, is choosing between referendum, separation, or the Conservative Party. Pierre Poilievre specifically, because it's his by-election. So if it really is an impasse and you have to pick one or the other, you're choosing faith that Alberta will separate by voting that way, and then Alberta becomes its own independent nation, which means it instantly, overnight, when it happens, becomes one of the richest countries in the entire world. Logistically, probably a long process and a bit of a nightmare to actually go through with it. Securing the borders, a new currency? Is it on the Canadian dollar? Is it on a snow peso? Is it on the American dollar? Like, what does that look like? Alberta bucks? We don't really know. Danielle Smith is trying to educate people on this. She should be doing a better job, not differently, just more of a job, like pump more money into the ads of education and stuff like that. So referendum, its own nation, richest country, one of the richest in the world, or the hope that the Conservative Party is going to beat Mark Carney in an upcoming election. Now, this is where it becomes tricky. Again, I shilled the Conservatives as hard as I possibly could. I wanted Pierre to win, and I still am sad about the election, lingering sadness. But we have to look at why he lost. And yeah, the Trump tariffs, Trump's involvement was, unfortunate, but it was still equal playing field. The Conservatives and the Liberals both had to adapt. The Liberals did a better job of lying and gaining more votes through lies and deception. So can Pierre pull off a win in the next election and beat Carney with a negative lead right now, right? Because Pierre had a 98 and 99% likelihood of winning the most seats and odds of a majority government. That was on the polls, and then the polls changed with Trudeau's resignation and all that stuff. So you're choosing between the belief that Pierre could win in the next election or what happens right now, or more immediately, which is a referendum. And I don't know if Pierre and the Conservatives have the momentum that they once did to gain the trust and support, specifically in Alberta, on the hope of we're going to win the next election or Alberta will successfully separate. It's a tricky situation to put your supporters and your voters in that predicament. The alternative to what Pierre is saying is a little bit more of how Danielle Smith has been approaching it. I don't want Alberta to separate, Danielle Smith says, but if the people of Alberta want to separate and are feeling this, then I, as a politician, have to represent whatever. Words are hard without coffee. I have to represent their voices. And so we're going to put it on the ballot and let the people decide. That doesn't mean you're pro. It doesn't mean you're against. It just means I'm a politician working for the people and I'm doing my job. So should Pierre have that approach? I'm going to pass the question off to you, because every time I provide my opinion, I lose subscribers because people think I'm attacking Pierre. And so I just want to say I'm not attacking him. I'm trying to be objective right now.
And I say it here, and I've been saying for years, we have to put a final end to this notion that Ottawa tells Alberta to pay up and shut up. And that's what Albertans have been told by this Liberal government for a decade.
They have.
Their frustrations are entirely legitimate. Alberta is the number one net contributor, per capita contributor to Confederation, paying more in tax than getting back in federal programs. The major industry of Alberta has been under a relentless attack for the last 10 years. The rural and Western way of life is under attack with ridiculous gun bans, all while allowing repeat offenders to go and terrorize communities, including rural communities where crime is now, for the first time in a generation, a serious danger. In communities where people didn't even have to lock their doors.
Immigration.
So I say all of that to point out that the frustration is real and it is legitimate, and we should neither dismiss it nor deride the people who hold those frustrations.
Good change of vocabulary. See, in a video of criticism where we're watching a video and commentating on it in real time together, I can now say that what Pierre just said is good, validating the people of Alberta and his constituents on their real feelings, providing factual data to say, hey, it's not just a feeling. These are why a lot of people have this resentment and these concerns. That's a very good approach. It's a different approach than what he did yesterday and what he has done in the past. Obviously, he's been watching my videos. Good job, Pierre. I also would like a phone call, and I like the different messaging. I do like it.
It's the job of all federal leaders and, frankly, all members of Parliament to redress the very unfair treatment that Western Canada has been receiving. And I pledge to do that. I understand it. For me, it's personal. I was born in '79. It was a few years later that Trudeau, hit us all with the big national energy program. My folks were teachers, so they didn't lose their jobs like so many others, but we got smashed with the 20% interest rates on mortgages like everyone else. And I grew up understanding that the federal government had viciously attacked the Alberta economy. And so one of the reasons I got into politics was to bring fairness to my province and to my region. And we'll continue to fight for that by repealing the anti-energy laws, unlocking free enterprise, shrinking the size of the federal government so more of Alberta's money stays in the hands of Albertans, getting rid of the dumb gun laws and instead locking up the real criminals. That's how we redress the very real and legitimate frustration of Albertans, and that's how we unite all Canadians. One last thing I would say is, let's build alliances. Albertans should build alliances with Newfoundlanders and Labradorians who want to develop their oil and gas. They want to develop, our Newfoundland and Labrador cousins want to double their production. We should support that. Let's develop alliances with coastal First Nations who want to liquefy and export Alberta's natural gas over to Asia to get $14 instead of $3 for it. Let's build alliances with Greater Toronto Area communities that want an end to catch and release, to lock up criminals, or to miners in Timmins who want to develop resources, or who want to keep their hunting rifles. That's how.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how Alberta specifically would help with the Greater Toronto Area catch and release, law stuff. Is Alberta going to build a detention center for criminals around the country? I don't think so. I'm not fully understanding that piece, but there might be a miscommunication with some of my videos. And I just want to say something right now. When I pull up videos like this for us to watch on the YouTube video, I don't pre-watch the videos. So if I start off my videos by saying, hey, Pierre's it looks like he's messed up, and then we watch a video where Pierre actually elaborates a little bit more, I'm watching that for the first time. I'm not pre-watching this stuff. When it gets sent to me, there's a couple summary notes, or in this case, there was a write-up by the Western Standard, which I read. But that's it. So that's how you get my genuine reaction. And I can course correct in real time in a video. I have absolutely no problem doing that. I think that this is a little bit better messaging for Pierre. It's definitely a course correction. He's now elaborating on the feelings that Albertans have and giving them that validation. That's good. But I think that him realizing that he's moving into an area where there is a high percentage of people that feel that way, saying that I don't want this, but if this is what people want, then that also needs to be addressed. Because right now it's 35% of the voters in his riding, apparently, according to polls, that feel that way. What if that number jumps to 70 or 80%? What if 80% of the voters in that area, not the Pierre voters, but the entire voter base in his riding? What if that number turns to 80? What's Pierre going to say then? Well, is he just going to nuke his chance at being a politician, or is he going to be a proper politician and try to represent the voice of the people, which went from a minority to a majority? So those are things to consider for Pierre Poilievre moving forward, in my opinion. But again, I'm just a dude who's sitting here probably not wearing pants, and I would love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Next up, we're taking a look at some other things that Pierre said. This one here is about immigration, where Pierre clarifies his position.
You previously called for severe limits to population growth in Canada. Can you clarify what you mean by that?
So, first of all, I'll tell you what I don't mean, which is natural population growth. That is almost non-existent in Canada. We have roughly the same number of people who die as who are born. So all of our population growth, in fact, in the last quarter, I think there were more deaths than births. So what I am referring to is migration, net migration. We have millions of people whose permits will expire over the next couple of years, and many of them will leave. We need to ensure that more leave than come in over the next couple of years while we catch up. Well, housing, healthcare, and jobs can catch up. We've had population growth of roughly 1 million a year under the Liberals, while we barely build 200,000 homes. Our job market is stalled, and yet we're adding more people to the workforce. Our young people are facing generational highs in unemployment because the multinational corporations are giving jobs to low-wage temporary foreign workers that ultimately leave our young people without opportunities. Our country is divided, and we're not able to integrate people at this pace. So in order to fix the problem, we've got to we need to put very hard caps on immigration levels. We need more people leaving than coming for the next couple of years. And we need so our country can actually catch up. Our immigration policy should invite the right people in the right numbers in a way that puts Canada and Canadians first.
And that would be pausing immigration and tethering immigration to pretty much our housing. I mean, that is the proper way to do it. And Pierre campaigned on that, and I support that decision. I'd love to know where you guys stand on immigration, but keep it clean in the comments. I know it can get carried away. Now we're taking a look at this bizarre article from the Globe and Mail. I mean, this doesn't even make any sense. Let's free ourselves of the United States and forge closer ties with China. What does that even mean? Canada's deal with the U.S. to drop the digital service tax, which benefits U.S. tech giants such as Meta and Netflix at the expense of Canadian fiscal sovereignty, and the Trump administration latest threat of a 35% tariff on Canadian goods perfectly encapsulates the current predicament. Washington no longer views Canada as an ally, but rather a subordinate for which to extract concessions. It's a stark reminder that trade and diversification is no longer optional. It's an urgent national imperative. So the Globe and Mail is suggesting that we leave partnerships with America by cutting ties, as per their headline, and we move closer to a country that legitimately has, been proven, if I'm not mistaken, foreign interference in Canada with elections, with our democratic process, with, maybe cyber attacks. I don't know. That's a weird thing to do. It explains a lot of the accusations of certain politicians having tremendously large ties to the Chinese Communist Party, such as David Eby, Mark Carney, or even Justin Trudeau, who said, I like the dictatorship that China has, or something along those lines. We all remember it. So that explains that reasoning. But for the Globe and Mail, a news outlet, to also encourage that, that's just bizarre. I never thought a Western country would have media saying we should move closer with China like that. What in the world are they drinking or smoking? The rub is that our long-standing subordination to the United States is also holding us back from partnering with China, one of the world's most important economies. To achieve economic sovereignty, Canada must break free from the made in Washington narrative that China is an unreliable trading partner bent on world domination. Instead, Canada must forge its own relationship with China, a relationship anchored in Canadian, not U.S. interests. So everything you've heard about China, about world domination, about all that stuff, you just forget it. Yeah, no, that who cares about that? That's somebody else's relationship and interpretation. We have to make up our own relationship and interpretation of China. And the Globe and Mail is advocating for us to just do that with China. I mean, I get that their economy is advanced, whether it's real or whether it's superficially inflated, which is probably the more likely outcome. You know, they've got cool railways, they've got skyscrapers, they've got a lot of tech embedded there. I get that there's like an appeal to have some of that here, but they're also a communist dictatorship, and they also do like slave labor and stuff, if I'm not mistaken. And also we've had bad relationships with China in terms of, you know, foreign interference and just the fact that China is kind of hell-bent on world domination. I mean, to be fair, so is America. But if you had to pick one outcome of world domination, would you want it to be China or would you want it to be America? For me, without hesitation, America. Like, I've been clear that I think that the world in 50 years or 100 years is going to be one of two things. Pretty much ruled under Sharia law, or I guess even Chinese communist dictatorship, or Western culture and values will prevail. And I'm on team Western culture and values, not China. That's just weird. So what do we do about this? Well, we're going to keep reading because it's almost like driving past a car crash. You kind of have to keep looking. As the largest economy in the world on purchasing power parity basis, China is set to be a core driver of future global economic growth. It also now accounts for a third of the world's manufacturing output, more than all the G7 countries plus South Korea and Mexico combined. And not just low-cost manufacturing, but rather advanced production and world-beating technology. China leads in 37 of 44 critical technologies, from AI to green energy. And I have personally been looking at some of these things. They'll pop up on my own personal YouTube algorithm, right? China is leading in solar and electric vehicles. Like, they are really, really pushing that now. They have insane solar farms, which I think is kind of cool. Like, I like solar because I lived in a van for 4 years and I was powered by solar, and I just have like a special bond with it. China is definitely leading in a lot of different ways, but just because they're leading doesn't make them the good guys. I don't know if there's any accountability for the Globe and Mail, which is a pretty big news outlet in Canada. I don't know if it's subsidized at all by our Canadian government. Maybe Moose on the Loose would have those answers, but that's bizarre for them to say we should be cutting ties with America and forging a way with China. Literally. Let's free ourselves of the United States and forge closer ties with China. That is the most rage-baiting title I have ever seen. But I can't say that I'm surprised. That, ladies and gentlemen, concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, considering supporting the channel sponsor, as it also supports, it's a way of supporting me, and I will see you in another video. Bye for now. I don't know how to sign off on a video that's this negative. Bye for now.